Yarn lines come and go for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes it's production costs, shifting trends, or just needing to make space for new ideas. It's all part of how the industry keeps moving forward. But I think there's still value in remembering yarns we used to love, especially if it helps us spot similar ones or appreciate the next big release. So today I thought it would be really fun if we could reminisce a little bit and celebrate 9 discontinued yarns that were some of my absolute favorites to work with. I love each of these yarns equally for all sorts of different reasons. So in no particular order, let's start off with Lion Brand Amazing. This yarn, I mean, honestly, the name says it all. This is one of the first yarns that I ever really fell in love with. I remember walking down the yarn aisle and seeing just not only, the nice organic texture to it, like it's got a really nice lofty halo and kind of fluff to it, which I think is really cool, but just the coloration of the yarn. Plus, not to mention roving. I have a thing for roving yarns. You'll see that as a trend with some of these yarns. But this one is one of the first that I can remember looking at and absolutely having to buy. It ended up in my cart and somehow is still in my stash. It got to a point that I didn't have a project for it yet, which is, how I shop for yarn sometimes. Sometimes I just buy what I really like and I don't have a project in mind at all. That was the case probably for this skein of yarn. And then once I realized it was discontinued, it is kind of set in a special place in my stash, never to be used, just so I can look at it. I know, silly is silly. That is the dumbest thing that I have ever heard. But you know what? I absolutely love this yarn. I love having this yarn in my stash. And I really just like looking at it every now and then and appreciating it for what it is. Just a beautiful roving yarn with some gorgeous coloration to it. So one particular project stands out with this yarn when I think about projects that I have crocheted or knit with Amazing yarn. The big one that stands out is a free pattern that's still available on my website. It's a simple hat pattern that incorporates a really neat spiral to the crown, so it kind of has some nice visual interest to it. This is the first yarn that I ever crocheted that hat with, and so it kind of has a special place in my heart for that reason. But, I have since had to rewrite that pattern so that it's suitable for other yarn options, since this one you can't just walk into a store and buy anymore. I can't remember off the top of my head how many different colorways were available. This one is called Glacier Bay. If you happen to find this anywhere, I mean, it's just an absolutely beautiful color in person. Nice blue with some aquas, some reds, maybe some oranges in there. Yeah, just absolutely gorgeous. I would be the first in line to buy more of this yarn if it ever came back. I think you'll find that throughout this list, there's a pretty big variety of textures and colors and fibers. And yeah, I mean, these are just all things that have really caught my eye and attention over the years, but also in how nice they were to work with. So the next yarn that I absolutely love and have very fond memories of is Bernat Pop yarn. This is one of those gorgeous cake yarns that has very fun but stripy kind of color transitions to it. In a cake like this, it really looks like it could be ombre, but as you work with this, it has more of a like an abrupt change from one color to the next, so it is a really easy way to have stripes in your project. But the other thing I really like about this, and I mean honestly, the camera just does not do it justice. This is seriously some of the fluffiest and loftiest worsted weight acrylic yarns that you'll find. Actually, is it 100? Yeah, it's 100% acrylic. It really doesn't feel like it. It is one of those incredibly soft acrylic yarns, and it was just a dream to work with. I have one big project in mind that, has a special place in my heart for many reasons. Like all of my patterns, they're kind of near and dear to my heart. But this one particular pattern I'm thinking of is my Mermaid Tail. I made this in several different sizes, all the way up to adult. So I made an adult-sized mermaid tail using Bernat Pop yarn. It was such a dream and a joy to work with. It's a little bit possibly thicker than a traditional worsted weight yarn. It just felt like the project really worked up really fast because of it. It was very soft, you know, it has easy care instructions, so it was just a great yarn for that project. I miss this yarn. This has some really fun color options. What is this one called? This one is Violet Vision. The other one, gosh, I wish I could remember the name of the mermaid tail color that I used. It has like, you know, blues and greens and aquas, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. This is another one of those yarns for sure that I would be first in line to buy a little bit more of, because I think it's just a really great option for bigger projects like blankets. All right, so the next yarn is a little bit different. This one I think has been gone for a little while. And this color is the only one that I have left. I don't know, I don't even know the name of the color. I don't have the label anymore, but I know 100% what yarn it is because it was one of my absolute favorites. This one is RedArt Italian Story Ombra. This is one of those yarns that has a chainette kind of construction, and because of this, it has incredible stitch definition. It was just one of my absolute favorite yarns to work with. I have saved this last little bit once I learned, of course, that it was discontinued. I know that's such a terrible habit that I have gotten into, but it really has been the case. I hold on to these yarns because I just love them so much, but I know that they are deserving of making a project. So with an amount this small, this could become an absolutely beautiful hat that I could wear and get a lot better use out of than just sitting on a shelf and looking pretty. There were a lot of really cool colorway options in this yarn as well, some of which I made actually just a few swatches for a ripple stitch because I wanted to make a scarf or, you know, something like that. The way the color works with stitch patterns, especially the ripple stitch, it was just really beautiful. Plus, not to mention, you know, the chainette construction has just really, really great stitch definition, but it still has some organic look and feel to it if you're kind of into that sort of thing. It's still one of my favorite yarns. I absolutely love it and just wish and wish that I could have more of it. Now, when I found out that this next yarn was discontinued, I was absolutely crushed. This is one of my absolute favorite yarns. I still have quite a bit of it in my stash, fortunately, so I can still make more projects with it. Payton's Alpaca Blend. If you are an OG watcher of this channel, you know I love this yarn. I love working with it. I love the way it feels. I love the colors. I just adore this yarn. I really do. I mentioned before, I'm a really big fan of roving style yarns. And of course, this checked that box perfectly, but also kind of the natural color because it is an alpaca blend. That was also really great. Just how it works up in projects, the stitch definition, the drape that it creates. Like, it was just one of my absolute favorite go-to yarns for projects, especially for like scarves and hats. Not to mention it's a bulky weight. So it was a really good go-to for projects where you wanted them to be finished a little bit quicker, but you didn't want it to be super chunky, like, you know, a number 6 yarn or something like that. It was just a really happy medium. The colors were beautiful. Everything about it I just loved. I made so many projects and patterns with this yarn. I don't even know where to begin. I'll show you a couple of pictures here so you can see just how gorgeous it was. One that comes to mind is a scarf. It's a really good scarf for a beginner crocheter, but it's not like your traditional back and forth kind of scarf. It's a little bit more interesting, I guess, to crochet than that. I used Payton's Alpaca Blend. I'm actually wearing that scarf in a picture of me that shows up on my website. I mean, I just love this yarn. And while I do have some of it still in my stash, I am finding myself not holding on to it like I do the other ones where I only have one skein left. I think because I have a few skeins of this in various different colors in my stash, I am still using it in projects, again, mainly for like scarves and hats because I just really like the way this feels on my skin. And I don't quite have enough for a bigger project like a blanket or a sweater or something like that. But you can bet your bottom dollar, if this yarn ever comes back, and I hope that it does, I will be the first in line to buy it, and I will buy a lot of it. Now, when this next yarn came out, I was really, really excited about it because it was just different than anything I had ever seen. And I had been working with yarn a lot at that point, so there wasn't a whole lot that I hadn't seen before. But this yarn, Karen X Panone, this was just completely unique. At the time that this came out, I had never seen or used or worked with or experienced a yarn quite like this one. And I made some really, really fun projects with it. It's a bulky weight, so it's perfect for those quick but not like super bulky projects. And it's also incredibly soft. We've got a wool, nylon, merino blend, so it's got the nice blend of, you know, being durable, having a little bit of those like luxurious fibers in them, and then nylon, so it has some really great stretch to it, making it perfect for projects where you need a little bit of stretch, like hats or scarves, to some degree even sweaters or cardigans or other types of wearables. In fact, this yarn, I made a knit shirt, like a knit top, like a sleeveless kind of top, out of this yarn, and it just turned out absolutely gorgeous, and I love it, and I'm so terribly sad that this yarn is no longer available because it still is a really great pattern, and it really works well with this yarn. I haven't really found anything quite like it, but man, if I do, or if this yarn ever comes back, it's another one of those yarns that will be high on my list to replenish my stash with. It's really interesting how all of this works together. Basically, each one of the colors are like its own standalone bit of yarn. So once you break this open, then you wind each color individually. Each of the colors are arranged in some kind of Pantone, you know, color palette sort of thing. So it's just perfect if you're not super great or comfortable with pairing colors within projects. It was just one of my favorite yarns to recommend for that reason. It was one of my favorite yarns to work with because it's so soft and the stitch definition is delicious, and it was just an all-around fun yarn to work with. Now this next yarn I only have one lone skein of, and I don't have the label anymore, but there is no doubt in my mind I know exactly what this yarn is. This is RedArt Amore. I so dearly love this yarn. I have made so many projects with this yarn. If you've ever worked with this yarn, you know exactly what I'm going to say about the feel of this yarn. It just feels like velvet, but it's not a velvet yarn, but it feels like velvet. I don't know. It's very hard to explain. It's one of the softest yarns you'll ever put your hands on. It still has a very nice stitch definition, and I apologize that this is an ivory colored yarn. I know that's really hard for you to see on camera, but it's the only one I have left, and I just really wanted you to have a look at it. But, you know, we still have that same chainette construction, which makes it really great for crocheting with because you don't have to worry about it potentially coming unplied as you're crocheting with it. It has great stitch definition, and I mean, don't get me started again on how soft this yarn is. It is the softest yarn I think that you will ever feel. It's just lovely, and I really dearly miss it. So 2 projects that I have knit with this yarn. First one is right here with me. Same color. This is a modern baby blanket, like a modern basket weave baby blanket. So modern in the sense that it's not like your traditional basket weave. It kind of uses some seed stitches in there to create the basket weave pattern. And I know we don't really talk about knitting much on this channel anymore. You can find it all on my knitting channel, which I'll link in the description if you're curious about that or you haven't checked that out yet. But yeah, I just wanted to show you an example of this yarn in a project because it was gorgeous. The other project that comes to mind is my classic cable knit hat. This is the first yarn that I ever created that hat with. I have since updated it and made it easier to find whatever yarn that you want to use for that particular hat. Again, I know you probably don't knit, but if you want to find that pattern, if you do knit, I'll have that linked in the description below, as well as the blanket pattern. But it was just the perfect yarn for a hat because it's so incredibly soft and it's a really, really warm hat. It's one of my favorites. I still love it today. I still use it, and I'm just terribly sad that this yarn has been discontinued because, yeah, it's another one of those yarns where I would be first in line to buy more of this. I'm sitting here trying to figure out which one I want to show you next because I just adore them and love them all so much. Let's go with this one because we haven't talked about a yarn this chunky before. Bernat Mega Bulky Yarn. I have several skeins of this left in my stash, and I'm just waiting for the right project to come about. This is one of those yarns that's just perfect for blankets, especially blankets that you want to knit or crochet up really, really fast because it is a jumbo weight yarn. So you can see it's very chunky in relation to some of the other yarns that we have looked at, and that's why I love it so much. It was just a great yarn to turn to when you need a jumbo weight yarn that was easy to find, that was affordable, that had a really great color palette. And, you know, I just love this yarn to pieces. So the big project for this yarn that comes to mind for me was another knit project, but a completely beginner-friendly blanket pattern, just using a stockinette stitch, kind of like close to what you saw back in, I don't know, probably like 2016 or so, when like big chunky knits were really, really popular. This was a blanket that I knit up with this yarn during that time, and it's, you know, it's still one of my favorite throws that we have. It's quite dense and heavy, so it has just the perfect drape for a blanket. It has like enough weight to it that it keeps it super like comfortable and cozy, and I don't know, I just really, really enjoyed working with this yarn. I really love the sheen that it has. Just an all-around really great yarn. I am very grateful that I do still have several skeins in my stash. I just need to find the perfect pattern or something like that for another big, cozy, chunky blanket. Now this next yarn is another Bernat yarn, and I just love this yarn for its versatility. Bernat Beyond. This is a super bulky yarn, which is, you know, it looks and feels a little bit thinner than some of your other super bulky weight yarns, but I really loved just a lot of things about this yarn. First of all, the sheen that it has kind of in the fibers. I really liked how that worked up in projects and how that looked with different stitches. Obviously, the stitch definition for something like this would be incredible, and that it was. There was a ton of fun colors available, not to mention it's really soft. We've got an acrylic nylon blend, so it was really great for hats, and that's actually what I crocheted with the most with this yarn. And, you know, it was just an all-around good go-to yarn that I just really liked to turn to whenever I needed something that was very practical, had a variety of different colors available, and I just love it for those reasons. I do also have several skeins of this left in my stash, so I am slowly chipping away at it, mainly for projects like hats, because I don't have a ton of colors available in, you know, each, or a ton of skeins available in each of the colors. But yeah, one of those good yarns that I just would love to have more of. This next yarn is another dear favorite of mine, Bernat Roving. Oh, how I love this yarn for so many reasons. I mean, where do I even start? First of all, it's a roving yarn, and that's just something I really love and look for in a project for hats and scarves or other types of accessories that don't get a lot of, excessive wear, like a sweater or something like that. So this was my go-to yarn for those accessories. I really like how light and airy it feels. I mean, if you were to pick this skein up, it's just super light and lofty, and that's exactly how the projects are that you crochet with it. It's so incredibly squishy. That's one of the things I absolutely adore about this yarn. And as far as projects go, I think I actually crocheted it in the same color. Do you remember when messy buns were like all the rave? This has been probably, we're probably knocking on the door of like 10 years ago when this was like a really, really big thing. I crocheted a messy bun hat with a gray version of this yarn. I don't remember what the color is called at this point. And then like a raspberry accent kind of like stripe to it. And it was so funny. When I made this hat, it was right at the time when I got really tired of having very long hair. I do this every now and then. I'll grow my hair out. I'll love it and adore it, and then the next day I'll just hate it and I'll get it cut really short. So I remember as soon as I finished this project, I think I wore it maybe like once with my long hair and I could actually make a messy bun. I cut my hair off super short and then I wasn't really able to wear it. So I've got these pictures here that show my silly, sad, messy bun from my really short hair. But I just absolutely loved that hat the few times that I did get to wear it before I cut my hair really short. I'm wondering if messy bun hats will ever come back in style. I mean, the idea of them is really cool, right? How many times do you want to get your hair off of your neck and your back, but it's like cold outside and you still want to like have your ears covered up? Maybe you're like me and you look really weird in headbands. I don't know. Headbands just don't look good on me. Or maybe I don't know how to style them, but messy bun hats. That's another thing that's fun to reminisce on. While I miss these yarns dearly, I would be the first in line to buy any of these yarns if they ever did come back. But it's also been really exciting to see what's come out since these yarns. More recycled fibers, different textures, different colors. So maybe these goodbyes made way for some really great hellos. And that's why, although I'm sad that I can no longer just walk into a store and buy these yarns, I'm still really excited for what the future holds as far as different yarns go. So these are just a few of the yarns that are still in my stash that have been discontinued, but I still love dearly and have some great memories working with these yarns. I'd love to know some of your favorite discontinued yarns and, tell me about those projects that you created with them that made these yarns so memorable and yarns that you really still love today. Let me know that in the comments. Happy hooking, and I'll see you in the next one.